Amy, let me tell you about a magical place that is so exactly designed to be enclosed space, year-round fun for the whole family that I bet you already know what I'm going to say before I even say the name. Let's say it together on three. 1, 2, 3. Great Wolf Lodge. You got it, Amy.
My kids loved Great Wolf Lodge when we went. You probably already know that it has a huge indoor water park with a wave pool, lazy river, a bunch of massive water slides. But then your pack can hit the other attractions because wait, there's more.
Great Wolf Lodge has adventure-packed attractions like Magi Quest, a live-action game kids can play throughout the lodge, plus the Northern Lights Arcade. Spent some quality time there, so your kid who loves the lazy river and your kid who loves fantasy games will both have a great time.
Great Wolf Lodge also offers great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. Unpack the car once and you're settled in to have fun. And with 22 lodges across the country, you're always a short drive away from adventure.
We've both had such great times at Great Wolf Lodge, so bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Learn more at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack.
Hey everybody, welcome to Fresh Take from What Fresh Hell Laughing in the Face of Motherhood. This is Amy. Today I'm talking to Trevor Hanson. He is a coach and founder of The Art of Healing. It's The Art of Healing by Trevor on Instagram. Trevor teaches relationship and attachment skills through the Secure Self Club. Welcome, Trevor.
Hey, thank you for having me.
The first question I had from you is just starting in your bio. You say that you teach attachment skills. And from my understanding of attachment theory, it's pretty primal. It's pretty learned in our earliest parts of our lives. And yet you're saying it's also a skill, something we can do maybe more effectively. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So when I think about the word attachment skills, really, it's not so much the idea of, oh, I'm learning a skill and I'm therefore behaving differently. So the way our attachment style is formed, and if someone's not familiar, attachment style basically describes how you feel, A, about yourself. Do I have confidence? Do I have that self-worth? Do I feel connected to myself to where generally, no matter what happens, like I know I'm okay and I'm safe. So it's that. And then it's also how we connect with other people. If we feel anxiety, like love is scarce or love has to be earned, or maybe we kind of shut down in the face of emotions because it feels like too much for us, that might be an indication of a certain kind of attachment style. It's like how our internal programming around love responds to other people. And particularly, I'm most helpful for those people who are in what we call the anxious attachment style camp. And the anxious attachment, they're the person who has fears of abandonment, fears of betrayal. They feel like they're not good enough. They rely on other people. They're the big time people pleaser that does everything for everybody else. And if they're dating, they're kind of a bit more pursuing and clingy. In a committed relationship, they're the one to bring up the argument and chase their partner around the house until it gets resolved. And the way that those feelings were created, or that programming was created, was through emotional experiences. Nobody logically sat you down and was like, all right, you got to be afraid of abandonment. Like, this is important. You didn't read it from a book. You didn't learn it from anyone speaking to you. You learned it through emotional experiences where you felt maybe unsafe, unseen. You didn't feel heard. You felt looked over or shame. And so the attachment skills, the idea is that it's a skill or a practice that you can learn to give yourself the opposite experience, which is creating feelings of self-love, self-trust, self-compassion, hope, all the kind of things you want to feel in your heart if you're kind of aiming to be that securely attached person. So I know it's a very long explanation, but essentially it's that idea of, I want to teach you how to take this big old syringe full of all those good feelings and know how to inject it into your heart every single day. Because then you do that enough and wow, you start feeling differently about yourself. You start feeling differently about your relationships. You feel more secure and confident. So that's what we mean by attachment skills.
And the attachment theory, this came from, I think, Bowlby in the 1950s. Is that right? Okay, so we've talked about him a little on the show. So take us all the way back to the beginning. What is attachment theory?
Yeah, so all the way back to the beginning, we're kind of mentioning it here, but think of it as your internal programming. You know, a computer will respond, or an algorithm will respond based on how it's written. And we have programming around the way we feel specifically in relationships. And to make it really simple, I'll describe kind of like three basic styles. There's more, but there's three. There's two that are insecure and one that is literally labeled secure. A secure attachment, that person has the programming where they walk around in the world feeling safe. They feel confident in themselves. They don't feel like they need to please other people to be loved. They know they have inherent worth. If their partner's upset, they're like, that's a real bummer and it's sad, but like, I'm okay. I'm not freaking out, losing my mind. I'm good. Because of that, they're probably going to show up more emotionally regulated too. They don't have fears, like deep-rooted fears around things like rejection or abandonment. I mean, they're still going to feel it when somebody rejects them because it's not fun. Or if somebody betrays them, that's still going to be hurtful. But it's not this ongoing hypervigilance and fear that they might have. They generally are trusting, and their relationships are a lot more healthy because they respond from this more calm, consistent, regulated place. They choose partners that are good for them. They stay with partners that are good for them, and they leave relationships that aren't good. So that's the secure. So the other two, we'll call them anxious and avoidant. There's like longer names and those sorts of stuff, but just for simplicity. And these are probably the names that you've heard if you're like scrolling on social media and whatnot. And so it'll be familiar for some. The core of the two insecure attachment styles, both anxious and avoidant, they're nearly the same. It's usually that there's some sort of fear of abandonment or fear of rejection. The anxious will relate more to the abandonment word, and the avoidant will relate more to the rejection word. They're like, okay. Yeah. It's kind of this undertone of anxiety and fear around those things. There's just some sensitivity there, right? And usually it's not required, but there's also usually sprinkled in some sort of self-worth challenge, some sort of narrative that says, I'm not good enough, I don't measure up, or there's a fear of not being good enough. So it's fears of abandonment, rejection, fears of not being good enough, which you can see they're very overlapping. If you don't believe that you're good enough, you're going to be afraid that everyone's going to leave you. And so like, okay, this is starting to make sense. They like work together. So far you're like, well, what's the difference like between the anxious and the avoidant? The key difference is fight, flight, freeze. We know that list of how we respond to fears. That's pretty common. And the anxious are more on the fight side of things. The fight and the fawn, they will be the ones in a relationship where they're the one always bringing up the issue. And because they have this fear of abandonment, they feel like they're not good enough. It's brought up with all this emotional energy, and all this emotional energy and anxiety comes out as criticism. You never do this. Why do you always do that? What the hell is wrong with you? Like they're just like coming after people, and their partners most likely are a little bit more on the avoidant side. They run from the discomfort. They're like, I don't want to be rejected. I don't want to be told that I'm not good enough. This is scary. I don't want to, make things worse. So they duck and cover. They're the guy who's run into the garage to like work on something and totally avoid the whole conversation. Or they're just like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. And you're like, well, say something, man. Like I'm talking about a brick wall
will make
here,
you mad. Right.
Yeah, exactly. And the wild thing is that you can see in this pattern, the anxious, they trigger the avoidant. The avoidance fear is rejection. They come at them with this criticism. The avoidant feels rejected. You start shutting down. That shutdown triggers the anxious. That feels like abandonment to me. You're shutting down. You're not saying anything. Where did you go? And so they become more escalated. They become more fearful. And I describe that dynamic because it's really relatable to a lot of people, where especially, and it doesn't have to be this way, men tend to be a little bit more on the avoidant side. Women tend to be a little bit more on the anxious side. Not always true. I came from the anxious attachment, and my wife is definitely more from the avoidant. And so it can be reversed. But it's a dynamic that really plays out a lot. And the goal or the key there is that at least one individual in the relationship, because if you're listening to this, you're probably listening to it alone. And so ideally, both people would be working on themselves. Both people are becoming secure. So they're no longer responding from that fearful, self-protective place. But you're probably solo. And so I'm just going to call out the individual and say, like, the goal for you would be to build to that place of security. So you're no longer responding from that anxiousness. You're responding from a place of groundedness and curiosity. And all the communication skills we hear about in this world are totally inaccessible to most people because they haven't healed their attachment style first. They're emotionally dysregulated. The boat is sinking. And you're like, well, will you please just use a healthy I statement?
Right.
Like, go ahead. It's like, I can't use that right now.
Well, where do these attachment styles come from? Because it sounds like you're acting out of this deep woundedness because you're childhood was a terribly sad one, right? But it seems like these run deep for reasons that don't have to be. You didn't have to like grow up in a workhouse out of Charles Dickens to have an avoidant style. You could just have a parent who is a little this or a little that. It seems like a small shift can really send you one way or another.
Totally. And there's a big long list of potential influential factors, right? Some of them are more egregious, like abuse and things like that. Obviously, if you hear this and you had abusive background, you're like, oh man, this is clear. Like, of course I feel this way. I was never meant to feel safe. Everybody abandoned me. Dad stepped out, like all that kind of stuff. That's the clear thing. But most people aren't sitting there relating to that. Most people are like, well, my childhood was like, it wasn't perfect. It was pretty decent. Like mom and dad tried, I had food, like we were good. So like, what is the answer? People spend months and months and months in therapy trying to figure out what those are. We just give you a list and we're like, just pick some. And then we get that done instantly so we can move on and help you work through it. Mm-hmm. But I'll give you a few examples. Mine is very mild, right? I had very good parents, very connecting. I think one, I was built up to be this golden child. My brothers and everybody else would always be like, oh, you're the golden child. You're the this, you're the that. And I started to associate my worth with being perfect, essentially, being the golden child. It literally came from compliments is where mine came from, is this place of like, you're so awesome. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to be awesome. It combined with probably some other things, but it could be like having a mom who was really anxious herself and didn't give you as much eye contact or touch or wasn't able to respond emotionally to you when you needed it. Or maybe depressed dad, you felt like you had to do a song and dance just to get him to come back online. So the narrative there is I gotta earn love. People aren't available for me. I gotta really fight for it in order to get that attention. The list goes on. I mean, it can come from, religious settings that have a lot of shame. And I'm not against religious settings at all. I mean, I'm a religious guy myself, but when shame is the kind of, or a heavy obedience narrative gets mixed up with this idea of I'm not good enough and I got to earn God's love and all that. It can come from that. It doesn't have to be some big, crazy, egregious background at all.
And explain why this is worth investigating. Because I think a certain kind of person might come to this being like, I'm good. My childhood was fine. I'm fine. And if I have a problem, it's that my partner, if they didn't bother me all the time, or if they didn't like do this, then there's no problem here. Why is this worth investigating? Even if you don't think you have one of these attachment styles that swings one way or the other, if you think this doesn't apply to you, why, is it just because the conflict in your relationship has to come from this in some form?
This is a little bit of a controversial take, but I believe that almost all relationship dysfunction on every level comes from insecurity. And this is what I mean, is that anytime you are defensive, that's mild, right? That's everyday, like conflicts. That's the easy stuff. That comes from a place of protecting yourself. That comes from a place of fear. That doesn't come from a place of openness and curiosity and being able to remain close and consistent. You are protecting yourself on a deeper level than you ever even know when you're defensive. So if you're like, oh, well, man, I've been defensive. So, okay, check. You probably lean on one side of that spectrum or another. A little bit avoidant, a little bit, anxious, and it could be a mixed bag and you can be generally secure, but sometimes you're definitely not, right? Mm-hmm. If you've ever been critical of your partner, really coming down on them with the you always or you nevers, especially if you use those absolutes in anything. And people will think that, well, I'm not critical. I just tell them how it is. I'm like, well, you don't actually tell them how it is. Like, for example, when people think that they're being honest or telling their partner how it is, they're usually pointing out the partner's behavior instead of pointing out what's more important, which is how you feel about it. Like, let's say your partner comes home late all the time. You want to have dinner with them and they just keep coming home late and it's really freaking annoying. And underneath annoying is that it hurts. And yet you show up to them and you say, you don't even care about me. I tell you this all the time. I've told you 1,000 times and you just don't even seem to care. Like, whoa, you're accusing them of being uncaring. You're just pointing out the fact that they're late. The fact that they're late, and then all of a sudden that puts them in a position where they got to get defensive and try to protect themselves. But really the truth is, hey, when you come home on time, I feel so loved. It's so fun to hang out with you. It's meaningful. And when you don't, it really hurts. And I want to figure out how to make this work together, right? That's the secure version. That's the honest version. And so if you find yourself getting critical, defensive, if you ever just shut down and you feel like you can't say anything during a conversation, you probably got a little bit of this. If you find yourself people pleasing in order to keep friendships even, agreeing to do stuff you don't really want to do. And there's a case where you can do that, right? That's called being just like a good human being. But if you're consistently doing it to where you're sacrificing your own needs and your values and then become resentful and your relationships aren't quite as fulfilling, or you're over apologizing all the time. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. You probably got a little bit of this in you. And so there's the other side of this, that there is so much that gets unlocked when you move into that secure place. Just internal peace, better relationships, more authenticity, all of it starts to unlock for a person. So that's, in a very tight nutshell, why I would say it's worth exploring.
I'm talking to Trevor Hanson from the Secure Self Club. We'll be right back. Hellions, it's time for some spring cleaning, and I don't just mean the coat closets. Doing your financial spring cleaning can actually be super easy when you let Monarch do your financial spring cleaning for you. One dashboard that gets your entire financial life organized. No more clutter, no more mess, no more logins scattered everywhere, just accounts, investments, property, and more, all in one place. Get your first year of Monarch for half off, just $50 with promo code FRESH. Monarch allows you to look not only at what you've already spent, but also to plan for the future. With Monarch, you can set savings goals, plan for big purchases, and notice spending trends before they become a problem. I can generate cash flow reports that show me what we spent this quarter, this month, what we're probably going to spend next month, and feel prepared, organized, and knowing how to plan for the future. No more surprises and a lot more clarity. Try Monarch. Use code FRESH at monarch.com to get your first year half off at just $50. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code FRESH. My favorite skincare products actually feel more like self-care, like they're so nice to put on and they smell so good that I'm actually happy when I get to that part of my day. And I swear that is how I feel about Osea's anti-aging body balm.
Amy, you are usually the lotions and potions queen on this podcast, but I have to say, hard agree.
Osea's anti-aging body balm is a liquid silk body balm that combines the lasting hydration of a lotion with the firming power of a serum, leaving skin smoother and firmer.
This body balm is clinically tested and designed to deliver visible results you can see and feel.
So we've gotten to use this product for a couple of months now, and I swear I have really noticed firmer and smoother skin, like on the back of my hands. It's like getting a mini spa treatment from head to toe.
Get a spring-worthy glow with clean, clinically tested skincare from Osea. And right now, we have a special discount just for our listeners.
Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code FRESH at OseaMalibu.com.
That's 10% off your first order with code FRESH at OSEAMalibu.com. Amy, when I'm having a good hair day, it usually makes my whole day better. And that's why on every day, I'm taking Nutrafol.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand, and it's the #1 hair growth supplement brand personally used by dermatologists. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements are peer-reviewed, NSF certified for sport, and clinically tested.
Nutrafol offers multiple formulas for men and women, tailored to different life stages and lifestyle factors, so you get support that's actually right for you. Adding Nutrafol to your daily routine is easy. Order online, no prescription needed, with automated deliveries and free shipping to keep you on track.
Let your hair be one less thing to worry about. See visibly thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair in 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol.
For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you visit Nutrafol.com and enter promo code LAUGHING.
That's Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code LAUGHING. Okay, so 2 things you said before the break, Trevor, that I wanted to follow up with you about. The first one is the silent treatment, which is something that if you have a partner who's avoidant, this is my understanding anyway, that's their default mechanism. They feel criticized either because you're actually criticizing them or because you've been coming home a lot lately and it gets taken up to 11 and they do this anyway. And the silent treatment is what results. It can be very hard to be on the receiving side of that and very painful. And I thought in your work, you've reframed what the silent treatment is about in a way that I thought was pretty helpful. So can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So I'm going to give you a framework and a tool that you can use to understand this and your own patterns for anybody who's listening. And it's easier to understand. So there's an acronym that I like to use to help us map out what we call any kind of attachment cycle, and specifically an anxious or an avoidant attachment cycle. And the cycle is where you get into your spiral, where you feel a trigger, where you're protecting yourself with shutting down or criticism. And it all feels chaotic and it's hard to keep track of what's going on. But if you can see it really clearly, you can break the cycle. And so I'm framing this before we get into your question too, so that some people can understand the utility of it. When you can actually map out the steps and stages of your cycle, oh, you're so empowered to start breaking it. And so we're going to kind of get a 2-for-1. One, we're going to reveal a little deeper understanding of the avoidant and why they shut down, while giving you a framework that you can use to break your own cycles. So
it depersonalizes it, right? It seems like you just get one step above it and you say, oh, this is the cycle. I get it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. There's so many benefits to it. I could talk till I'm blue in the face about it, but we'll jump into each piece.
Okay,
so
tell us.
Tempo, Tempo, like tempo, the beat to a music, right? And so T is trigger. And that's the moment, the circumstance that brings up uncomfortable feelings, negative beliefs, whatever it is. So let's go back to our example. The one partner criticizing the other for coming home late all the time. Okay, that can be our trigger. It can be anything though. It can be your partner not texting you back. It could be your partner going quiet. Maybe you're on the other side and they're shutting down. Like whatever it is, it's that moment where it's like, oh crap, this is not good. I'm feeling stuff and I'm about to get into this negative place. So the partner criticizes the other one. We'll call them Jill and Jack, just so we can keep track of everybody. So Jill, she criticizes Jack and she's like, hey, you're never home on time. And Jack, the E is the emotion that he feels. So the T is the trigger, the criticism. The E is the emotion. Emotion is maybe he starts to feel a little bit fearful. Crap, what's going to happen here? I don't know what to do. Maybe he does feel a little bit frustrated or angry. Usually under frustration and anger, though, is something like hurt and fear or disappointment. And then like it comes out as frustration and anger. It's always almost deeper. We call frustration a secondary, or anger a secondary emotion. And the primary is usually something much softer and much, much deeper. So he's got fear, maybe hurt, maybe some anger, and the meaning that he's making in his head at that moment, or the belief that he's kind of running. And these are usually beliefs that he's probably had his whole life running in the background, such as, it's not safe to share how I feel. I'm not good enough. I will never be good enough for her. I'm just a disappointment. And especially for men, they have a lot of negative beliefs about their capacity to be that provider, that safe place, that good guy. This belief that she doesn't respect me, she doesn't see me for who I am. All sorts of beliefs could be going on in his head. We're not sure which one, but it's probably one of those, most likely. And from that place of meaning, or the story he's telling himself in his head, it doesn't actually mean that it's true. It's just what's going on in his head. So if you were to map out your own cycle, the meaning that you make is usually catastrophic and it's usually not terribly true, which is totally fine. I'm not telling you to change it yet. Just telling you to note it. So we're noting down Jack's negative beliefs and meaning. And maybe another one is that he has a meaning that if I say anything else, it's going to get worse. It's going to make it way worse. I'm going to get more criticized. The night's going to be horrible. Everything's going to blow up. I don't want that.
I want to ask a question about that, because it seems to me that's the moment where your attachment style is coming into play. Like, I can't say anything or this will get so much worse. That might be a story that you're bringing from an earlier place in your life to this. That may or may not be true, but you're applying that to this situation.
Yeah. And that kind of leads us to the P of protection. And I'll kind of tie it all back through this. So Jack probably holds on to negative beliefs, like you said, from childhood, from early experiences, such as, it's not safe to share how I feel. And so I'm not going to share how I feel. I'm afraid. The P of protection is what you do to protect yourself. He shuts down. That's his move. Jill's move might look like criticism. Might look like fawning and trying to just really make him happy so that she can get love. There's all sorts of ways that you can protect yourself. But his protection comes from the negative belief that I can't say anything because things are going to get way worse. And I can't share my emotions because that's not okay and that's not safe. It can be, I want to protect us, the relationship. I feel like if I say anything else, I'm going to say something hurtful because I'm feeling so much right now and I don't want to let it out. And so I want to protect us and our connection. Wild to think that that's even what's going on in him, right? Most of the time we think, whoa, you're just doing this to punish me. No, it's all about fear. It's all about anxieties. The fear of rejection is primarily what's driving that. And the fear of not being seen as good enough is what's driving that.
So the protection, I have a clarifying question is for me. So really, when you look at it through this lens, whether the person is like attack, 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 or whether the person is like, no, I'm not going to talk to you for a week, or the person is, are you mad at me? Please say you're not mad at me. Whatever you're doing, it's just your protective behavior. And it's not good or bad. It's just your protective behavior.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
It's not good or bad. It's efficient or inefficient, right? That's how I see it.
Yeah.
Because some things are not very good strategies. It could be a bad strategy, but on a moral standpoint, it's like, well, I guess sometimes they can overlap in an immoral place, like if you're actually hurting somebody. But at the end of the day, no, it's just looking at it for what it is. Wow, I'm protecting myself. And I want to highlight this for a minute. We are drawing out a very compassionate story for Jack. It could be done for Jill as well, right? Oh my goodness, Jill, like when he doesn't come home, that just brings up all these feelings of hurt. And you're hurt. And that makes a whole lot of sense because of your past and what you've gone through and how people didn't show up for you. And the meaning in your head is that nobody's ever going to show up for me. Everyone's going to abandon me. Even the guy I chose doesn't love me. Oh my goodness, I get why you feel that way. And I get why you get mad, why you get critical. That all makes sense. You're not crazy. You're not bad. And I think sometimes people look at their protective behavior. If they have some awareness, they'll look at that with a lot of shame. They're like, I'm the worst. I'm so crazy. I'm this, I'm that. They're just judging themselves so hard and burying themselves in a pile of shame, which is so horrible. And so I'm hoping that this conversation starts to shift the view. Like, oh, well, I'm just protecting myself from a scared place. And I learned that as a little kid.
And so is your partner, your avoidant partner, or your anxious partner is in protective behavior that is not necessarily about trying to wound you. It's about trying to protect themselves. It's more primal than that. What about the O? I don't think we got to the O.
No, we're about to get there. Okay. So the O is the outcome. What happens because of your protection? And so the outcome, let's go back to the cycle for Jack. His protection was to shut down. And the outcome's most likely that Jill gets even more pissed off. She's more mad. She's upset. She's more
cries
hurt.
Or more sad. Right.
She cries. Right. Something happens, right? So many things can happen.
It's upsetting.
But
sure.
It's probably not aligned with what he was hoping for.
What is he hoping for? Just safety. Just like
probably safety. Yeah.
I don't have to talk about this anymore. That's right.
Yeah. Well, and there's a lot of deeper hopes there too, that if he were to slow down and talk about it in like another setting, he'd most likely admit, I'm hoping for connection. I want to be happy with you. I want us to feel like we did when we were dating. He's going to say all that stuff. In the moment, he's probably offline enough to not even realize that that's what's going on underneath the surface, right? Our subconscious, which is where our attachment style lives, drives the majority of our behavior. People think, oh, I'll change my thoughts and my rationale and then I'll behave differently. No, we got to get deeper. We got to change that subconscious piece. And so subconsciously, he's probably longing for a lot of stuff that's really connecting. And if he could say it, it would be very connecting. In that moment, instead of shutting down, him going, oh, Jill, I am so sorry. I get where you're coming from. I'm feeling really stuck. There's a part of me that's so afraid to say anything right now. I don't want to make it worse. I don't want to push you away. I'm having a hard time figuring out how to get out of work early enough. I know it's important to you. I want to talk about this. Whoa, you just changed the mood. Jack, what just happened? You told Jill that you love her, that you want to be close to her, that you care about her, that you're afraid. Who is this guy? Like, that's awesome.
What about the part, like, I have something I could say, but I'm not going to say it because that'll make things worse. That's hard for an anxious, actually attached person to hear. It's better than silence, maybe.
Yeah, well, and it's being able to admit, honestly, even the parts of you that aren't so cozy to hear. Yeah. And as a relationship gets more and more secure, they have better and better outcomes and they create better cycles, then they can do that. They're like, there's a part of me right now that's really upset with you and I want to call you a jerk, but that's not all of me. There's a big part of me that like just loves you and I don't want to ever fight with you. It's like, oh, okay, well, let's focus on the part that does love me and not the part that thinks I'm a jerk. Like, cool.
There's a security, a safety and security that underpins the whole relationship. So you can say, you know what, you need to come home from work not late once in a while. How about that? And it's like, oh, I'm sorry. Like if you could get to that point and then it doesn't have to turn into a fight about how you fight, I get it. Then that's safe. It's safe to express a little bit of negativity without it turning into a whole other thing.
Completely. And when to kind of circle this all back around, the O of the outcome usually starts a new cycle. It's the new trigger. As soon as let's say she defaults to more criticism, it's more intensity, or she cries, whatever else it is, that's a new trigger for Jack. Oh, and he's going right back in. He's going to do another round, and they're going to do rounds until they either blow up and they stop talking, or they eventually maybe figure it out, but it's after potentially hours of just slugging it out until the point where they're like exhausted enough that the vulnerability comes out. But man, what we can do is we can shorten that and create positive cycles. The cycle works in reverse too, meaning there's a positive version of this too. And we've kind of already enlightened it, right? Let's say Jack shows up with the new protective behavior, which is vulnerability. I'm going to share what I'm feeling instead of shutting down. And I'm going to share how I want to be close to you. Oh, wow. Maybe that influences Jill to have some openness. And Jill, she's in her own cycle and she's like, okay, part of me still wants to be critical and part of me is still upset, but I'm choosing a different mechanism. I'm going to choose to try to understand Jack in his vulnerability, express some gratitude for what he's saying, stay close, be willing to share what I actually need without smearing him with all these labels. And then over time, they keep doing this and the outcome is better. They influence each other to feel more safe. And that's where we get to that point where the general cadence of the relationship is safety. Because you've done so many rounds of going through the fire safely. But then you don't fear the fire anymore. You're like, yeah, we can talk about anything. You upset? Cool. Let's chat about it. I'm good. I'm not afraid of the flames. I can get through them with you every single time.
That makes so much sense. I'm talking to Trevor Hanson from the Secure Self Club, and we'll be right back.
At DSW, we ask the important questions, like, what shoes are you going to wear? Whether you're prepping for wedding season, festival season, or just planning the ultimate vacay, the right shoes can make or break an RSVP. So own the moment. You've got big plans, and we've got just the shoes, at the perfect price, of course. Get ready to get ready with Designer Shoe Warehouse. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today and let us surprise you.
All my kids learned to swim when they were little. It was super important to me that they be confident and safe in the water. There was only one problem with that: taking them to swim lessons. I mean, the pools were freezing. There were always cranky adults doing laps right there. And it was definitely not, for any of us, what you would call fun.
Amy, heard. But now there's Goldfish Swim School. Goldfish takes a really thoughtful approach to swim lessons, combining research-based teaching with a warm, kid-friendly environment that actually helps kids thrive in the water.
Every detail at Goldfish is thoughtfully designed to create a golden experience, from shiver-free, warm indoor pools to comfy waiting areas for parents to professionally trained lifeguards on deck.
Goldfish uses an approach called the science of swim play, which combines guided play with proven teaching techniques to help kids learn to swim, build water safety skills, and gain confidence, all at their own pace. Lessons are designed to meet kids exactly where they're at.
If you've been thinking about swim lessons or just wondering where to start, this is a great opportunity. Right now, Goldfish Swim School is offering a waived membership plus your child's first lesson free at participating locations.
Just visit goldfishswimschool.com/free to find a location near you and enroll using promo code FREE.
That's goldfishswimschool.com/free, promo code FREE. Something that you just said, Trevor, reminds me, we had Dr. Lisa D'Amour on our show. We've had her on more than once talking about mental health. She talked about adolescents and how they can, go to some pretty dark places pretty quickly, pretty often. Yeah. And that mental health is not never being sad or angry. It's about having the right emotions at the right time. And it's coming into my head as you're talking about being securely attached, because being securely attached doesn't mean you'll never have disagreement, just that you can have disagreement without being triggered, which sends it into this whole other level. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell us a little bit more about the work that you do with anxiously attached people, because we talked before about how the avoidant person in this relationship might work on leading with vulnerability instead of leading with hiding. Yeah. What would the anxious person, how would you help that person in the same sort of situation?
The strategy that we talked about for the avoidant was to get vulnerable. And that's very much like very much a tactical strategy that's actually hard to access unless you do the deeper work. So for both of them, I would encourage doing the deeper work so that the baseline is security is not necessarily a behavior. The behavior is a byproduct of the core, which is the security. Behavior is a secondary, I guess, symptom of how you actually feel. If you feel on edge, fearful, anxious, not good enough, your behavior is going to be way different than if you feel connected to yourself, calm, trusting, believing that other people are going to be there for you. So I would say in either case, we want to focus on the core and changing the emotional cadence or that foundation inside of a person before we even talk about, okay, show up this way for your partner, or maybe try this.
It isn't just, and he says this, and then you'll say that. It isn't that. It's starting at a much more basic level of finding this self-compassion.
Yes. So kind of back to the idea of emotional / attachment skills. The idea is that you've had, and I'm kind of repeating myself here, but it's important to set the stage for understanding this. You've had experiences in your life, if you feel either way, like Jack or like Jill, you've had experiences where you have been made to feel like maybe you're not good enough, or maybe you felt like you have to perform in order to be loved, or people aren't going to be there for you consistently. Whatever that was, there were emotional experiences, not logical ones. And so the whole idea is that I want to help guide somebody through practice of skills that help them create new feelings within themselves. Emotionally transformative experiences is what we're talking about here. So I'll give you an example. And this is just one tip of the iceberg. A lot of times, and I'm not talking trash on therapy or anything like that. I've been a therapist. I'm now doing coaching, but a lot of times people would complain that they go to therapy and it's very like logical. They'll talk about their week, they'll check in, they'll validate you, and you're like, oh, that feels nice. But then you don't have any emotionally transformative experiences. You're gaining a lot of knowledge and information, but your heart has no transformation. You're like, okay, I guess we're going to check in about my week next week too. But what do I actually do to make myself feel differently? And so our whole thing is that we've created something that's based on actionable steps, actionable skills, such as, and this is where the example comes in. If we can envision a younger version of you, the little me or the inner child, whatever you want to call it, picturing the version of you listening to mom and dad fight in the other room and feeling like it's your fault. And you're just feeling sad and you're feeling like, man, I'm worthless. I created this. If you can envision yourself going back to whatever that moment is where you felt these feelings, maybe for the first time, and you can give that little version of you some self-love and self-compassion and some kindness and some reassurance and reveal to them truth, and you're actively visualizing it, that experience can be overwhelmingly emotional in a good way, where you're feeling this sense of compassion and love, and you're kind of taking that part of you that responds out of fear, out of anxiety with your partner now, and you're going and you're kind of nurturing them. You're rocking the baby, essentially. You're helping. Moms have a superpower for this, by the way, because moms know how to nurture a kid. If they're listening to your podcast, they're probably great moms too, because they're doing their work to try to show up.
Confirm that's the case.
Right? 100%. Knew it. And so you already know how to do that. I want to teach you how to do it for that part of you that needs it. If we could rewind time and you could go find yourself, what would you give to her? What would you say to her? How would you hold her? And I want to run practice with you so that you can learn how to do it and learn how to do it on your own. Like I said, that's only just one example of an emotional experience that moves you towards that security. There's a whole list of others. That's literally one piece of like 30 in the program.
But the point is that when you're feeling that trigger, it's that you find that self-compassion and security that you have in yourself, that you don't need somebody else to provide to you. And that helps you return to, a more centered place to be less reactive?
That's a great way of saying it. And I love what you're saying, because I always define security as having an internal environment of safety. Inside of me, I feel good. I'm safe. No matter what happens on the outside, my circumstances do not dictate the peace or the happiness in my life. Circumstances including how my partner responds, but it's more the focus of my life, the self-compassion in my life, the ability to feel okay. And is it to say that you'll become this unfeeling, unaffected robot who does not ever respond to what your partner says with any kind of hurt or negative feelings? No, definitely not. You're a human being. You're going to feel that stuff, but it's not going to take your whole world apart.
Yeah.
You're not relying on them.
Yeah. You're safe. You can respond from a feeling of safety. Oh, I'm sorry. I have been working a lot lately. The end, right? It doesn't have to turn into 2 weeks of fighting, right? If you respond
100%.
from a secure place. I totally get it.
100%.
Well, tell our listeners a little bit about all the work that you do and how people can interact with you in many different ways.
The main thing that we do, I used to do all sorts of stuff like couples work and this and that. And being that I came from the anxiously attached place, I decided to put together the resource that I wish I would have had. The pieces that I felt like I was missing. And not only me, but in doing the work previously as a therapist, hearing the complaints, the desires of people. And I was like, oh man, we gotta create something awesome for this. I need to focus only on helping those with an anxious attachment style become secure. And so the byproduct is the Secure Self Club, which we're talking about here. And it's a program that is designed to help people who have been stuck, who've been trying everything. They've been doing the books, the podcasts, the therapy. They've been, doing everything. And they're like, I know so much information, Trevor. I have a head change, not a heart change. And I want a heart change. I want to feel different. And I'm like, okay, you're our person. So if confidence and security is the thing that a person wants, that's really what we focus on. And that's really the only thing I do now. But to get introduced to my world, if you're more curious, is going to Instagram, The Art of Healing by Trevor. That's a great place to go. You can go to artofhealingbytrevor.com. You learn about us there. And anytime you want, you can send us a DM on Instagram. We reply to every single message from every single person.
And you must get a lot of them.
Yeah. We have like 500,000 followers right now, and we respond to every single person. So if you're like, hey, I heard you on the podcast. I want to know more about this club. What do I do? You can hit us up there. There's also a great free seminar that I have. It's called From Anxious to Secure. And it literally teaches you 4 things that you got to have in your process if you want to make success happen, if you want to become secure. And that's free, like everything. Just start free, right? It's like a relationship. Don't feel like I'm telling you got to join my club. I would say, yeah, take advantage of all the good free stuff that I have.
I've been checking out the Instagram, and it really is, again, that's The Art of Healing by Trevor, one word, on Instagram. And your explanations are very clear. They're very concrete. They're very non-judgy. And I think they would be great also to share with a partner as a way to sort of very gently walk towards, hey, I think this kind of looks like us, don't you? Haha, isn't that funny? It would be a good way to sort of start the conversation.
Of course. And you know what's really cool there too, is it's also a great way, and this is a little bit vulnerable, but it's a great way to take accountability. Like, let's say you don't even see your partner in the video, but you hear it being about you and you're like, oh man, that's totally me. And then you send them something, you go, you know what? I'm realizing that this is me, that this is where my fears come from, that I do this to you. I want to do it differently. I want you to be part of that with me. Like, whoa, that's really cool. That's next level too.
Well, Trevor, thank you so much for talking to me today. I'm going to put all of the links in the show notes for all of Trevor's work. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.